Farmers are begging Trump for money in Arkansas. I only care about this if this video is every single one of these folks getting up and prostrating themselves like a Muslim praying to Mecca and apologizing for voting for Trump, which 90% of them did.
Begin tonight with hundreds of struggling Arkansas farmers pleading for emergency federal funding amid a farm economy crisis.
Channel 7's Andrew Mobley attended a meeting between farmers and federal officials earlier today in Brookland in northeast Arkansas and has more tonight. Andrew.
Almost everything that could go wrong for Arkansas farmers did go wrong this year. And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations. A dismal global market and plunging commodity prices mean there's little to no hope of breaking even for many farmers, even as sky-high input costs rise because of inflation and now tariffs. Not to mention bad weather earlier in the year.
It's almost like, and you're going to have to forgive me for this, it's almost like economically it doesn't make that much sense to have our farmers compete at market prices against the produce of countries that have much lower labor costs and are able to produce that food much cheaper. It's almost like there's some kind of comparative advantage that America might have in certain industries, that if you want to attain some kind of like freedom from the problems associated with you know, like externalizing all of your agricultural output, you might have to have some kind of like internal program for supporting them that isn't just the insane subsidization program we have right now. Right now, our subsidy programs for farmers are insane. They're bad for the economy, they're bad for the government, and they're also not great for the farmers, to be honest.
This time last year, the rice price was about 40% higher than it is now. The inputs costs have gone up, so after a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
Though President Trump's big, beautiful bill provided a much-needed update to safety net subsidies for farmers, they won't see those federal dollars until late next year, by which time some have projected that as many...
The farmers have been sweating about growing too much food. That shouldn't make sense. No, that is the problem. The prices are too low. Like, there's a weird squeeze happening right now where, like, at the grocery store, people are paying more, but at the... for the farmers, they're being forced to sell their product for less and less in the market, which means like if they produce too much, they kind of contribute to that, but you definitely don't want to produce too little food, especially if you're competing with other people.
As 1/4 or even 1/3 of Arkansas farmers will face bankruptcy or be forced to leave the business amid the crisis the American ag economy is currently in. It's already taken its toll this year.
I'm a 6th-generation farmer from Newport, and we made a decision to go out this year. In the spring. So my son will not...
Like, at the end of the day, the real solution to this is, I'm sorry, it's socialism. Just like with healthcare and housing, food production, especially when it comes to basic crops, should not be done on a basic supply-demand curve. Because once you get into overproductive territory, then the price goes down. It's not profitable to be a farmer. This is something that should be treated with the heavy hand of government regulation. Like, unironically, I was going to say Soviet level shit, but there were constant famines. I just mean, like, farmers should produce a certain amount. If they overproduce, that sucks, I guess, in terms of like wasted water or whatever. They should try to hit necessary quotas. They need a quota system, but no matter what, like, they should get the amount of money they need. Like, they should not have to deal with a market economy while producing the literal thing that keeps everyone alive. And by the way, all of this would be so much easier if we didn't spend like 70% of our arable land on food to be produced for the benefit of livestock, you know?
The 7th generation on our farm.
5 of my customers have committed suicide. That's how serious that this is.
Today, Arkansas farmers gathered to share their struggles with staffers from the state's congressional delegation, pleading for Arkansas lawmakers on Capitol Hill and the governor to convince President Trump to provide emergency funding to help them make it to
I know who these people voted for, okay? My sympathies are conditional.
Next year.
We have to have ad hoc payments right now to make it through this year.
If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will...
So listen, you are explicitly asking for government money to free you from the difficulties of a capitalist, laissez-faire supply-demand system. Like, you are straight up just asking for the government to bail you out from this. Can you understand? You must understand. Like, you are not a capitalist. You do not want capitalism.
File bankruptcy.
Their cries for help did not appear to fall on deaf ears.
We're going to take your message. We're going to get it back to D.C. We're going to do everything we can to get you the help you need.
Well, of course he's going to say that here.
Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers are not.
Right. Yeah.
Lord, and it's only my opinion. They're closer to me than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting you, Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
It's hard not to be moved by the cries of the people who put food on your table, on your side.
I find it quite easy, actually.
I'm Andrew Mobley.
Drew, thanks so much. And in a joint statement, Senators John Bozeman and Tom Cotton, along with Congressman Rick Crawford, write that they are happy to continue to hear from farmers around Northeast Arkansas and promise that relief is coming. They also say, we are proud to have delivered multiple forms of key support and assistance that combined total over $80 billion since last December. These reforms...
80 billion with a B.
And investments, once implemented, will help address economic challenges and natural disasters to preserve family farms.
This is not efficiently managed farmland. Does Vosh also have contempt for Texas flooding victims? I mean, you mean like the little kids? No. But like, you mean after the little kids died, there were a bunch of like MAGA parents who came out and acted bewildered. You realize the reason those little girls died in Texas was because their idiot, profit-hungry, piece of shit, right-wing little fun camp manager decided to build their facilities in the floodways because it was cheapest, right? Basically, the water equivalent of building a kid's dormitory in the fucking path of a Hawaii volcano's lava flow. Like, these people have nothing but contempt for life. So yeah, no, I feel pretty fucking contemptuous towards those people. Yeah, I do. Wow, look, another example of Vosh reading YouTube chat only when someone says something stupid. I'm sorry. I could have responded to it. That's what gives me the thing to say. Okay, fine. Let me find a good comment. They don't shine out as much as the bad comments, you know? If you don't do anything, I'll have to sell my farm for $2.8 million and retire comfortably. We're suffering here. There you go. There. I found a comment with the sentiment that I agree with. My apologies. I don't mean to misrepresent you, okay? Oregon State Rep Cyrus Shavati switches political teams, registers a Democrat. Huh. That's fucking rare. That doesn't happen very often at all. I don't think people really understand the long-term risk of us consolidating all our farms into a handful of corporate outfits. Yeah, no, that's bad. I think that all of this should be publicly owned. I think that I believe in like a state system here. And I mean that like unironically with all of its challenges. I think that the Department of Agriculture should just own farms. If you are producing agriculture, your ass belongs to them. The land, all of it is managed by them, and you have quotas to meet. And I think that there would be some downsides to this, but overall, I think that freeing farmers from the tyranny of having to meet like a market standard while competing with the rest of the world, which can produce things like grain and rice at incredibly low costs. I think we should have domestic food production, but forcing all the people in America who produce like soy and corn to compete with the rest of the world and to compete with the systems that have driven down prices is absolutely insane. It's not manageable, you know? And there are so many inefficiencies in the expectations of these land, the water use alone, and the fact that all of it goes to animal agriculture. There are so many things that could be managed better, and I don't want corporations doing it. It's America's land. America, the country, a significant portion of its land. I think it should be managed by the DOA. Just one more pasture field, bro. Just one more pasture field. Just one more state-managed agriculture project. Please don't look at any of the state-managed agriculture projects in history. I'm begging you, it's going to be different this time. Listen, it doesn't have to be DOA ownership. At the very least, it has to be DOA management, okay? Don't look at anything in history. It's all going to be okay.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Farmers are making a cry for help before it's too late. Countless farmers gathered to speak to representatives of Arkansas leaders to share the urgency.
If we plant the crops closer together, they will communistically not compete for resources. I believe that. I think that's true. I buy that.
that something needs to be done about the current state of farming.
Okay, no, it's still on the, yeah, it's still like this. Okay.
Jake Tester was at the meeting and now joins us in the studio with more. Jake.
What do farmers think about student loan forgiveness? I think you can probably guess. All these people asking the government for billions of dollars in money to keep their businesses afloat. I think you can guess how they feel about student loan forgiveness. I'm just taking a guess.
Farmers spoke up at the meeting, and the message was straightforward. They need help, and they need it now.
Mr. Trump, you looked at me, sir, and you said, I love you. Mr. Trump, I need to see the fruit of your love.
Jesus
Farmers
Christ.
in crisis, a line way out the door of the Woods Chapel Baptist Church in Brooklyn as hundreds
It's at a fucking Baptist church. By the way, guys, yeah, there you go. This is what a Baptist church looks like, in case you're wondering about American culture. In case you live in, like, Spain or France or something, and you were wondering what our religious communities look like.
Farmers from not only northeast Arkansas, but from across the state came to voice their concerns about the current state of farming.
It's their gym, not their sanctuary. No, that's where they pray.
Representatives from U.S. Congressman Rick Crawford, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, and U.S. Senator John Boozman's offices were in attendance to hear those concerns. Among those farmers in attendance was a farmer in Woodruff County, Chris King. He told me this was his 39th harvest, and he has never seen it as bad as this.
And I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
For King, the main problem starts with the fact that they can't sell for profit.
I just would like to...
Yeah, that is a pretty big problem in a capitalist system. If you are incapable of selling your product at a profit, that's pretty rough. That's pretty fucking rough, yeah.
See somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do. And that's not happening. And we're in real trouble.
But that is not the only issue. King's wife, Melissa King, and farmer in Biggers, Arkansas, Scott Brown, said they are struggling to afford the cost that is needed just to take care of the farm.
The prices that we're getting now are prices like they were when we were children, and what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now. I mean, the price of a combine when we were kids was, in the 20,000s, and now it's 100,000.
I farm 800 acres by myself. I can't afford any help. I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. How's the guys farming 5 and 10,000 with 20 hands and millions?
You are wearing the merch of the company responsible for this. John Deere is anti-right to repair. They have fought aggressively to prevent people from making any repairs or alterations to their vehicles so that you're forced to go to them and pay exorbitant costs. My brother in Christ, you're wearing their merch.
5 and 10,000 with 20 hands and $1 million combines and $1 million drills going to make it work.
But for Brown, there is something that rounds out all the issues that they are facing, the tariffs.
I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm. When you try to sell a product, okay, U.S. soybeans leaving New Orleans without the...
Out of curiosity, who did you vote for? I'm just wondering. Did you find out what tariffs were on November 6th?
Tariff to China are cheaper than Brazilian soybeans at the current market. But when you put the tariff on top of them, Brazilian beans are cheaper.
So how can this be fixed?
In the short term, they have no choice but to mail us a check. I don't know a farmer that likes the check program. Nobody wants to take taxpayer dollars, but nobody wants to go broke.
Nobody except for every fucking farmer every fucking year all across the country. Yeah, sure, I'm sure. Yeah, it must be really undignified. It wounds your sense of farmer's pride to take free fucking taxpayer money.
Nobody wants to lose everything. Long term, we have to have options, markets, and places to sell our product.
Now those representatives in attendance will be taking these concerns they heard to Washington, D.C. to share with the government.
20K in 1985 adjusted for inflation is 60K now. John Deere is psychotic for charging 100K. Listen, I'm not saying the system is fair or whatever. It's just these people are in favor of the system. Like, these people are super duper in favor of every single process that is making their lives impossible to live. Like, that's the problem. I'm not saying that they're being whiny or whatever. They're like, if there was a position, like a person in their position has a right to complain. They're just in favor of all the bad things.
leaders so they can try and find a way to solve this problem before it's too late. Reporting in the studio, Jake Tester, K8 News.
Jake, thank you. Northeast Arkansas representatives of Senator Bozeman, Tom Cotton, and Representative Crawford released.
I'm going to keep consuming Farmer Chryslop until Eric Adams is ready to talk. I don't give a shit. This is my buffer window, okay? This nourishes me.
Happening now, harvest begins.
Every day I go outside in Seattle, okay, I see poor queer people suffering, all right? It's only fair that I balance that out. I don't engage with farmers in my day-to-day. I don't live around them. I'm just trying to, in the cosmic scales, okay? I'm just trying to balance out how much suffering I see.
To pick up for farmers across the United States, and this year could challenge farmers right here in Region 8. Alejandra Hernandez joins us in the studio, and she spoke to one farmer. And Alejandra, what has farmers worried?
Well, most farmers are making bank anyway. Not really, no. Like, there are some, the people who are making money off of the system are people like at the very, very, very top. The majority of farmers are not doing great. Yeah, there are some big super corporate farms, but a lot of the people you saw there are like basically petite bourgeois. They're kind of being strung out from both sides. The system is being streamlined and made so efficient, like depending on your definition of efficiency, being made so efficient that it's squeezing out basically any producers in America except for either hyper artisanal, like overpriced honey vendors or massive megacorp super farm companies, you know? You should Google farmer suicide prevention funding Utah cuts. Do they have like their own suicide hotline in Utah? What can you grow in Utah? Utah's legislative leadership has cut $60 million in funding from the public higher education system. Wait, that's a different thing. Key federally funded program that provide mental health therapy ended in 2024. Utah officials have declined to use state funds to continue the program. Stress raises farmers' rates of suicide. Funding that helped died on the vine. Okay, so the state of Utah refused to use their state's money to fund this program in an era where farmers are killing themselves more often. Follow-up question. My understanding of Utah's geography might be a little bit incorrect. Why would you be a farmer in Utah? I'm imagining a void.
Heard just how tough this year has been for farmers, and one farmer that I spoke to in Rector said that while he has farmed his whole life,
water from
this
snow
year
melt water?
has him worried.
I've never in my life faced a time, and I've been farming since 1993 on my own, where the outlook is so bleak financially.
In a year where crops have been tested by Mother Nature, the toughest test may lie just ahead for farmers. Harvest begins across Arkansas, but for farmers like Cliff Carter, the challenge will happen after.
This is the first time in...
No, you're right. It's more fertile than I thought it was.
My life farming that I still have crop in my bins that I can't sell.
Despite a good crop this year, Carter says the prices they get for those crops won't cover expenses. He's not alone.
Hold on. Whoa, hold on. This is a different news segment, but these are the same stock footage clips. We saw this exact silo before.
Not alone.
We saw this exact shot before.
America reported in March the agricultural trade could reach a record trade deficit. Carter says the price for crops has dropped drastically.
Alfalfa farming in Utah is going to cause an ecological collapse here. Buddy, alfalfa production has already taken like all the water from the Colorado River. My understanding is that by the time the Colorado makes it all the way down to the ocean, there's like a single trickle of like dirty yellow brown piss water. Like we're out. We out, buddy.
Basically what we're getting out, a bushel of corn or a bushel of rice, would be like you making $5 an hour and trying to pay your bills at home. In today's time, we can't do it.
Carter says farmers face challenges from several angles. Earlier this year, tariffs were imposed on U.S. exports. Carter said while businesses can fight tariffs by raising their prices, the reality is not the same for farmers.
We can't do that. Our price, the price is set for us is global market.
He said those tariffs are costing farmers their biggest customers.
Mexico and China are the two biggest rice buyers for the United. They buy more rice off of us than anyone. And when they stop buying rice, we have nowhere to go with the rice.
Carter said it's not just tariffs. The rise in global competitors like Brazil is also hurting farmers. Selling domestically is an option, but...
I was offered $3.90 a bushel for rice last week to make dog food out of. That won't even cover my seed cost hardly.
Agriculture is a $20 billion industry in Arkansas. Carter fears that failure for farmers won't just stop with them.
This is largely, I assume, due to like middlemen, right? $3 a bushel is nothing. Like, you need to pay the farmers nothing so that there's a bullshit chaff in the middle between like the production of the grain and the consumer.
It won't be a trickle-down effect. It will be like flushing a toilet if the ag industry collapses.
Carter says farmers need help from the government to help bridge the gap between the cost of producing crops and selling them. Despite a bleak outlook, Carter said there's one thing that keeps him from losing faith for farmers.
Totally 100% dependent upon the Lord Jesus Christ. I surrender it to him.
That's great, man. That's super useful. Thank you. As always, our greatest allies. These are the people the Maoists think are going to lead the fucking revolution, man. Very fucking helpful.
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture has resources available for farmers. You can find that link on this story on our website. In the studio, Alejandra Hernandez, Kate News.
Jesus fucking Christ. Are we going to use the same stock footage? On my farm, which has a very lean operation, we can break even at about $4.85 per bushel on corn. For most farmers, it's probably closer to $5.10. The last trade war with the low interest rates allowed a lot of farmers to use their equity to stay afloat. Now everyone's fucked and good fucking riddance. Yeah, it seems pretty apocalyptic. Right now, the only money that can be made in America, apart from being like an OnlyFans chick or like a live streamer or whatever, is through commodity speculation, right? Not producing commodities, just commodity speculation. So I don't know like where we go out from this, you know? Aren't we going to have a shipping problem with transport as well because of the reduction in truck drivers? Yep. And as there were fewer truck drivers because we are explicitly not hiring foreign truck drivers anymore on their work visas, that means the cost of that trucking is going to go up, which means that everything is going to get more expensive. But does that mean people are going to pay farmers more per bushel? Probably not, because that would mean they would have to charge even more at the end point twice over to account for the increased cost of the trucking and the increased cost of the bushel. It's all going well.
As farmers prepare for their soybean harvests, they're filled with uncertainty. China has basically stopped buying the crop from the United States because of tariffs, and prices are also dropping.
Oh my God. It turns out that in a global economy, our economy is dependent on the global.
Real-time reports.
Like many farmers in North Dakota, Christy Jaeger is used to volatility. Nothing, however, prepared her for a letter from her local elevator saying that soybean sales were nearly impossible.
By the way, there should be, in my opinion, no volatility whatsoever at the business side of farming. I think that is fucking psychotic. I think the volatility should be like crop harvest, like sometimes the weather's bad or whatever. But like, we don't know what price we're going to be able to sell our fucking crop at. That's insane to me. The idea that something this vital to life would be subject to these whimsies of a supply-demand curve. Absolutely psychotic.
Conversation really is, you know, okay, we have to really look at where we're at. Maybe my husband and I can't retire quite as quickly and my son can't maybe fully take over as quickly.
Jaeger says that ever since the August 1st tariffs took place, she's been worried about her income, loans, and bills. She says that she's never had to worry before about her crops not having a market. China, which usually buys the largest amount of soybeans from U.S. farmers, has stopped because of tariffs.
So right now, there's a complex series of effects taking place. One of the big things is if we look at where farm commodity prices are right now, they're quite weak. Weakness in the soybean space especially is tied to the fact that China has not been making new crop soybean purchases.
Jaeger says that she wishes that tariffs didn't target the agriculture industry.
When you broad brush tariffs like that against everything, knowing that agriculture in America needs an international market, it's just really unfair. You know, how about you look at the items that you really could tariff that won't affect.
Why not keep all of the same destructive economic policies, but only in a way that specifically doesn't affect my industry? Have you considered that, Mr. Trump, who I'll vote for again for his third term in 2028? Have you considered that? I have learned no lessons from this. I have learned no lessons whatsoever about the entire economy being dependent on global trade at this point. You should keep doing everything you're doing. Just please exempt us specifically. We want havoc and devastation for every group of people except for us. Thank you.
So many people.
Representative Julie Fedorchuk said in a visit to our station in Minot recently that she believes that the big, beautiful bill will offset any losses from tariffs.
So we increased crop insurance, made that better, more affordable. We increased reference prices, and we doubled the amount of funding for export assistance. So we're trying to counter some of the tariff challenges by trying to find new markets. So we know China's a big market.
What new market is going to compete with China? Where on earth? Or what other country? Atlantis? Hyperborea? I bet you there are people at the fucking White House who think that.
Depending on how willing China is to negotiate in fairness and in full with us, we might need to look for other replacement markets for China. So definitely working on all fronts as it relates to helping to improve the bottom line for our producers.
Jager says that the next few weeks will be critical. As harvest begins, farmers will discover whether elevators can actually take their soybeans or if months of work will sit unsold in storage bins across the state.
Cool.
In Esmond, I'm Michelle Tom reporting for your news leader.
Expenses for planting and growing the crop have gone up in the last few years. Jager says fertilizer.
I've noticed that. Meet the farm workers in hiding as crops rot. Dude, it's so fucking bleak. Nebraska GDP shrinks. What? Nebraska GDP shrinks 6% as farmers face high from a month ago?
Right now, Nebraska has all sorts of challenges are cropping up for Nebraska farmers. The Nebraska
6% GDP contraction. That's not a challenge. That's a biblical condemnation. That's a death trial. That's not a challenge. That's a fucking jigsaw game. What the fuck? Dog, you're gonna die. Your ass is dead. Challenge?
Nebraska Farmers Union says producers are facing the toughest time in decades.
You're not in a challenge. You're in a goddamn Danganronpa visual novel. Statistically, only fucking 1 in 11 Nebraskans will survive to the end of the year.
Their costs are rising, but commodity prices are falling, meaning they can't really turn a profit, and that's hurting the rest of the state's economy. Channel 8's Jake Holman joins us live after talking with a local farmer. Jake, what'd you find out?
Yeah, Rod, Sophia, the GDP numbers for the first quarter of 2025, which is another tool, a measurement to estimate the size of the economy. It does not paint a pretty picture for the state of Nebraska here.
It went down 6% in one quarter. That's fucking incredible. That's fucking amazing. Jesus Christ. And all of these people voted Trump. We're talking about like rural Nebraskans, okay? I think I'm fair in making that claim. I'm sorry about the typewriter noise.
In large part because of the largest industry, which is agriculture. Now, tonight we hear how one farmer is coping with these challenges.
Oh, they are.
With the interest rates where they are right now, it's putting everybody into a bind.
Bill Landon is one of the many farmers in Nebraska who's...
Kowalski, how the fuck can you afford to maintain that Tier 4 sub? Jesus Christ. You're like the only farmer left in Nebraska. Holy hell. Oh my God. You're like, you as an average in your area, you have the economic prospects of somebody currently reporting from Yemen. Like,
a tight spot financially. According to a report from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, Nebraska's gross domestic product fell more than 6% in the first quarter, tied with Iowa for the largest decrease in the nation. And it's because of losses in agriculture.
When I first started farming in my first year farming after my wife and I got married in 1974 was, we thought if we could get over $3 for our corn, we didn't know what to do with all the money we could have. And now here are talking $3.60 to $3.80, and even $4. It's right at or below break-even costs.
Prices have dropped for corn, soybeans, and other row crops.
Okay, Kowalski, genuinely, how long can this continue before all of these guys just die? I know the megacorps are going to be fine, but like, genuine question, how long can these like mom and pop farming operations possibly sustain themselves when there's no way to profitably sell their crop? It's like 6 months, a year?
Meanwhile, the costs of farming are going up.
And so here you look at the input costs
of all of the fertilizer, all of the chemicals, all of the insurance, all of the seed, everything else, plus the price of land, especially if you're a renter. You have an enormous amount of money tied up in a crop.
According to the Nebraska Farmers Union, those raising beef have been doing well, but crop producers are taking it on the chin. Union president,
which is insane, because the only reason the people producing beef can do well is because of the low cost of the crop. Adams is live. Okay, let me finish this video, then we'll move over.
And John Hanson calling this the worst financial time for family farmers in decades. Landon says one of the ways he's balancing this out is by cutting back on purchases.
If you haven't been able to put some of your own equity into the farming operation, it makes it really, really rugged.
But Hanson feels this issue in Nebraska should be of a national concern.
It is not in our country's interest to see family farmers and ranchers who produce our food and fiber go broke.
That is true. That's completely true. For most farms, 3 years. We can do this for 3 years, but you'd have to burn through all your equity at the end of it. When you sell your farm, you'll have nothing left. A lot of farmers will blow their brains out by year 2, just like they did in the 1980s. Yeah, I mean, if they're leveraging all of their equity, like by the time they eventually do the big sellout to a megacorp that buys up their land, they wouldn't even make anything from it. They would just be collecting on that debt, right? So you wouldn't even so the smartest thing a lot of these people could do right now is immediately sell out, right? Because otherwise, like, we're talking about a slow grinding death of unprofitability.